phobia, by definition, is a persistent, abnormal, and irrational fear of a specific thing or situation that compels one to avoid it, despite the awareness and reassurance that it's not dangerous.
Fear is an emotion that all of us share, not just humans, but all animals share this capacity to appraise things that are dangerous and learn to get away from them as quickly as possible.
Fear began in our prehistoric ancestors as a defense mechanism known as the fight or flight response.
The fight or flight response is a biological and psychological process that has evolved over the years to save our lives.
Here's an example of acrophobia, which is a fear of heights. Depending on the phobia's severity, an acrophobic person may equally fear being on a high floor of a building or simply climbing a ladder. Many things can happen during a phobia attack, from dry mouth to shortness of breath, or in this case, running away. Here we conducted a couple interviews on what it's like to have a fear. So, what is your fear?
Sharks.
Sean's fear can also be classified as selicophobia.
Tornadoes.
This fear is also known as lilisophobia. What's the reason behind this fear?
Why it's not going in the ocean ever? Because I just feel like they're going to touch me. Because Shark Week on Animal Planet, that's
Well, I've never been around one yet, so I'm pretty happy about that. But I do get really nervous when the sirens go off.
Do you experience any physical effects to your fear?
not really. I don't know, when I'm in like a lake or a river, I still have that fear. I just kind of feel weird, like if something's going to touch my leg or something.
If there's a tornado, like if the sirens go off, I get really shaky and nervous, and my body feels tingly.
Nervousness and or shaking and trembling are just common symptoms of having a phobia. Here Ms. Hilkman describes an encounter she had with a student that had school phobia, which is an anxiety disorder in children who have an irrational, persistent fear of going to school.
I want to go back to phobia about school phobia because I've worked with, I worked also with a little girl that had actually a couple of girls. One with a school phobia, her parents would literally drag her, yelling, kicking, and screaming because she didn't want to go to school. And then sometimes I had to literally drag her kicking and screaming into the classroom. And once she got there, generally she was okay. But the onset is sometimes really, really sudden. It's just, it's like one day it's there and it hadn't been before. And then you work through it. And sometimes it takes a long, long time to work it. And parents sometimes aren't prepared for this because they'd never had an issue. Actually, after a year and a half of all of this, then he was back to being okay with school. And you know what the interesting thing is? He's like working on his 3rd or 4th degree now. But it's just, and so I read at that time, I had to do a lot of reading about school phobias, and the preponderance of school phobias are males, about 14, 15, 16 in that age range. But there are also females and stuff like that.
In the end, phobias or fears can occur through different causes. Everyone is afraid of something. Everyone experiences nervousness and anxiety. Some people possess these feelings so deeply that their fear is considered irrational. Even they realize that it's irrational and they have a phobia. Millions of people suffer from phobias every day of their lives. Unfortunately, they still occur. However, at least research has been done to try to solve them. And one thing we should keep in mind is,
you can sit right next to a person and maybe not know that they have issues.